to meditation and spiritual practice. I'm Rabbi Wieder of Temple Bethel of South Orange County, and it is a pleasure to see everybody who's on this Zoom call today. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, and you would like to be able to have the opportunity to be part of the questions and comments at the end of the meditation, please log in to the Zoom link, which is on our Temple Bethel website, and you can be a part of. But if you also want to just sit and listen and meditate and be with us in that space, lovely. So there's a really fascinating interpretation from Rabbi Eli Melech of Lezhinsk, 19th century Hasidic rabbi, of this week's Torah portion that speaks. What he does is he follows kind of classic Hasidic interpretation, and he takes the verse that we're going to look at today, which is Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esav, and he interprets it in a completely different way than the story itself. He interprets it in an inner way, in a meditative way. In the Peshat way, or the literal meaning of the text, Jacob has been working in the house of Lavan, has built a whole household, 2 wives, finally leaves and is headed back home and about to meet his brother Esav, who he hasn't seen for over 20 years and who they left on horrible terms. He had tricked Esav into getting the birthright, or the firstborn blessing from his father Isaac, and Esav wants to kill him. And so now, after so much time, he's about to see Esav, and he's scared, he's got anxiety, he's got feelings and all of that. And he goes ahead and sends messengers before him to his brother Esav. He wants to appease Esav with messengers and gifts and all of those. So, but the Rabbi Eli Melech of Lezhinsk takes this verse and he sent messengers to Esav to say that what he did was something totally different. And what he draws is a couple things. One is, I'm going to read to you a little bit of his words, and then we'll talk about it. He says that we read this verse, Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esav, with the verse, a person wrestled with him. Now, this was just same parsha this week, just before he's about to meet Esav. He has this dream of wrestling. Some people say wrestling with an angel. The text really says he wrestled with a man at night. And Rashi's explanation of this word vaye'avak, which means vaye'avek, wrestled, is related to raising dust, avak, because when people wrestle in the dirt, dust gets kicked up. So that's how that word avak, that verb that has that in it, this dust getting kicked up, was why Rashi says, the 13th century, 12th century commentator, that it means that the dust got kicked up. So the Noam Elimelech says, to understand this, we need to explain the verse, your word is well refined and your servant loves it. It is known that a tzaddik, a righteous person's prayer, is answered when praying for a sick person or for others in need. It seems as if God is subject to a change of will, heaven forbid. He says that's not what happens when a righteous person prays for something sick. It's not that he makes God's desire or God's will change, but instead it says that the Blessed One created letters, which in their original state are pure potential. A tzaddik can reconfigure the letters so that they form whatever words are desired. These configurations are what a tzaddik does in prayer, making new combinations. The tzaddik's prayer does not cause a change in the creator, as the letters were already always there. All the tzaddik is doing is creating combinations. So on one hand, I want to just kind of be clear on my understanding of this, is that what he's saying is that when we start to really tap into reality, we start to really be present with this moment. We be present with what is here. The more deep we are able to pay attention, the more we are aware that this moment is building blocks of letters or building blocks of energy. It's really as we start to experience everything as being expressions of energy, expressions of aliveness. And we've explored this in our meditation. So as we start to penetrate our awareness, we start to realize that this moment is made up of fundamental energies, or in this case, the language is letters. It's made up of letters. Now, we can't shift or change the energies of the moment of what's around us, but we can change the way that we look at the energy, the way that we perceive it, the way that we relate to it, the way that we are present with that energy. And that, in a sense, can be an understanding of what it means to say that the tzaddik reconfigures the letters. It's not that he reconfigures the energy of reality that's out there, but he reconfigures his way of perceiving, experiencing, and one might say that even in that way of changing our perception of, our way of relating to the moment, we are also actually affecting the energies of the moment, meaning that how we perceive and where our conscious awareness is not something completely separate than everything else that we're perceiving. When we start to pay attention to the objects of our awareness, our breath, our body, all of those things, and then we also become aware of the one who is perceiving, right? The subject, awareness itself. It can be easy to think that those are two separate things. But what our tradition teaches and what sometimes we find in deeper meditation is that even our awareness, consciousness itself, as well as the objects of our awareness, the energy of everything else, is from the same source. It's the same one presence. And that the duality of subject and object is really just part of that dualistic nature of consciousness of our own mind. So we can just hold that as an open possibility right now. Does our ability to change our perception and relate to the moment in a different way actually change the letters, reconfigure the letters itself, or in an outward way, or does it just happen on an inward way? Okay, so you still could ask, Rabbi Elimelech says, why is a tzaddik's prayer more effective than the prayer of another person? Indeed, the sages wrote, if there is a sick person in your home, you should approach a sage to pray. This comes from the Talmud. And let me just, say this is deep in our Jewish consciousness. I don't know how many people, you don't have to consider me a sage, but just having being the archetype of the rabbi, how many people say, Rabbi, will you please pray for, for my loved ones, for whatever, because in some way, does that mean that I have more of a direct line or something? No, but I think that there could be awareness to say, and this is what is bringing that in some way there might be something about somebody who is spending more time in spiritual awareness or whatever that might have something to offer in this realm. Why couldn't any person pray and reconfigure the letters? This is because the Torah was created with love. As we say, Habocher ba'amo Yisrael behava in the prayer before the Shema, the one who chooses the people Israel with love. A tzaddik also loves both God and every person in the world. For example, Rabbi Yochanan said, I greet every person in the marketplace, including Gentiles, before they have a chance to greet me. That's from the Talmud. Most people are not like this, and therefore they don't have the power to reconfigure the letters. Only a tzaddik who loves everyone who has that power. Okay, so here, want to just really forget this thing about the tzaddik or the rabbi or the whatever. The point here is that he's saying that when somebody has the capacity to love everyone, that's the person who has the power to reconfigure the letters. There's something about having one's heart open and to all of the diversity of creation, however it appears, that allows somebody to tap into the current moment in a deeper kind of way and have a perception of that moment that could affect the energy of these letters. So he says, this is the meaning of the verse, Jacob sent messengers. Okay, what he says is that messengers that Jacob sent are actually letters and words, which are called messengers. So now Jacob's not sending out messengers on the outer side. Now Jacob is talking about an inner meditative practice. Sending messengers actually means that he was perceiving reality, he was perceiving the moment, the fundamental energies of the moment, and he was doing this reconfiguration of these letters. Before he sent messengers before him means that the letters were already there, the potential was there before him, and Jacob made combinations of the letters through the power of his love for everyone. This is contained in the words to his brother Esav, implying that he totally accepted Esav as his brother, like Rabbi Yochanan, whose love even included non-Jews in the marketplace. So here it's saying that even Esav, who was going to kill him, that his practice before he was about to meet Esav was to open his heart to Esav, was to be able to love him, even in spite of everything that went on. And so this is how we also understand the verse, a person wrestled with him, that the word vaye'avek refers to traces of something. Remember, avak is like dust, traces of something, like in the expressions. So in reality, a person may not love everybody equally, right? One's love for one person could be complete, while the love for another person may also be lacking. And this is, and that was the struggle that Jacob had, was to get rid of the traces of in him that kept him from loving everybody. So now from this interpretation, Jacob's wrestling with the angel, with that kicking up of dust, was actually his own process in him of getting rid of all of the things that kept his heart from being open, not just to his brother Esav, but to everyone. Let's see if there's any other piece to share here. Okay, so we'll kind of stop there. And really, as we kind of take this into our meditation, it really is what we're practicing here is how we are in this meditative moment that we're about to enter into together is really our way of practicing. How do we want to be in the world? How do we want to be with other people? How we are in our meditation is a reflection, is a practicing of how we want to be out there. And they feed each other. So on one hand, this teaching from Rabbi Elimelech is saying, we really want to practice being open-hearted in our meditation. We don't want to be so focused. I'm so focused on my breath that any other distractions that come in, I want to push away and I want to say no, because is that how we want to be in the world? Do we want to just be focused on what we're focused on and be annoyed by everything else that seems like it's a distraction? We want to be able to meet each part of the moment that greets itself with and be able to be present with it, to feel the sparks in it, the godliness in it, the energy in it, and be able to respond in a way that's skillful, that brings goodness into the world. And so if we want to have that kind of open-heartedness in the world, we want to practice that. On the other hand, it also goes the other way. It's not just our practicing in the inside, so it goes to the outside. it's also how we practice on the outside affects how we are in the inside and our ability. And so this is where, we talk about the sages say that the Torah was built on three pillars, stands on three, al shlosha devarim, on Torah, on learning and kind of deep teaching, on avodah, sacred service, which one could interpret in this case as meditation. It's meditation, prayer, and gemilut chasadim, acts of loving kindness. Because the acts of loving kindness that we do out there feed the avodah, the in here, how we are in here, continue to open our heart to ourselves. And what we do in here feeds how we are out there. Okay, that's a lot of words. So let's get into a comfortable position to sit without being able to move too much for a period of time. And we'll start with a nigun, a melody. I invite you to sing in your own space and let the melody open your heart. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yan nai 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 yai nai 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 yan nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yan nai 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 nai. This last part, open your heart. Yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai nai. So you can settle into your body in space, noticing the contact of your bottom on the chair, the cushion, the distance between the bottom of your spine and top of your head, the space between your ears, the way that your arms hang out of your shoulders and the resting place of your hands. Feeling the length of your legs and the contact of the bottom of your feet with the ground. And as you're aware of the shape of your body in space, notice the movement of breath, paying attention to where the inhale enters the nostrils or the mouth. Notice the way the body expands to make room for the inhale and contracts on the exhale. Really being aware of your entire body as you breathe, noticing the way the air affects even the tips of your fingers and your toes as the breath goes in and out. And as you breathe and are aware of your body, you can also expand your awareness to be aware of the sounds that surround you in your space and outside. At the same time that you're aware of breath and body and sounds, you can also be aware of any thoughts or images that play in your mind in the background, sometimes drawing your attention, sometimes just being in the background. Really, that there's permission for everything. And you can even imagine that your breath, your inhale is coming into your heart area, almost as if your heart was an organ of breath. The inhale goes into the heart area and then breathes out from that space. And the inhale, you breathe in open-hearted acceptance. The exhale, opening to the world. You can even use the phrase on the inhale into your chest, "You are loved." And just really take in that there is full goodness and acceptance and love towards every part of who you are. That from a divine level, even the parts of ourselves that we have judgment towards, that from a divine level, from a God level, there's full understanding and compassion of knowing exactly why it is that we are the way that we are and what our challenges are. And there's full unconditional love from a divine place. As you breathe in through your heart, you can take in that love. And as you exhale through the heart chest area, you can extend that to everyone in the world, to the people closest to you, your community, and out there. Just this real sense of compassion, understanding. Even if that's not where your day-to-day mind is, even if your day-to-day mind has lots of judgments about things that you see out in the world and things that people do, that really the divine mind has understanding, has compassion, doesn't necessarily permit, but has understanding. And let that Let that come out with your exhale. You can even imagine, if you want, that it's almost as if you have virtual arms that are holding them wide open, totally ready to embrace this moment, to say yes to everything in this moment. An attitude of embrace. And that you really hold that attitude, practice that attitude, that open heartedness, that embrace place with everything in this moment. Breath, sensations in the body, even those that might be a little tight or uncomfortable or even painful, with all that's happening in your space, sounds, activity, inside, outside. That this attitude of embrace, this openness, just says yes to everything. That everything is made of the divine energy, that everything is made of these deep sacred letters. How do we be with the energies of this moment in all the different ways that they show up in thought and sensation, all the ways that they show up? How do we be with them in love, in open heartedness, in ways that welcome? In some ways, this openness and this attitude of embrace is already present without even having to make any effort towards it. That the one who watches, the witness, the one who is watching and present with breath and body and sounds and thoughts, the one that notices, is already that open heart that already makes space for everything. I'll be quiet for a period of time, and the invitation is just to continue to keep our awareness grounded in this moment, all the aspects of it: breath, body, thought, sensation, sound, to be present with it all as energies of creation, and to practice an attitude of embrace, a sense of arms open, heart open, total welcome of everything in this moment. And that every time we notice that we contract, that we close down, whether it's because there's a thought or a sensation that's uncomfortable or we have a judgment towards, or just even that we kind of lose consciousness for a moment and are in a dream state, that we continue over and over again to open back up, to open up to the fullness of our awareness, to the fullness of our open heartedness. that this process of contracting, expanding, this is the wrestling. This is how Rabbi Elimelech sees the wrestling that Jacob goes through, is removing any of those barriers to love, to open-heartedness. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai. Thank you for that space, everyone. Any questions or comments? Anything about this, the practice itself, this sense um, of of really a kind of almost an aspirational goal to have our hearts open to everyone. It's kind of an extreme, aspiration. Kathy.
It did speak to me at times when you are fighting mad at someone and you can give it some time or meditate or calm yourself and reevaluate, you can open your heart and rearrange those letters.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Kathy, I want to, that kind of speaks to something a little bit personally, which is, one of my kind of high holy day focuses this year and has been very present for me is really working with anger, as it comes up and feeling the fullness of the rush and more than anything. And I know we all know this intellectually, but it takes kind of a stronger degree of commitment to say, I'm gonna take some time with this, especially in the middle of of something that's interpersonal, right in the moment when it feels like it's got to be dealt with right now, to be able to notice, I'm not in a, I'm consumed, by this feeling, this experience. I'm going to give myself some time. And then how do I, when I give myself that time, what do I do? What do I do to, okay, there's the time, there's to let it settle down. In some senses, for me, there's been almost this space to take that same degree, that same kind of compassion and love that we're speaking about, and to apply it to myself right now. To what does it mean in that moment to feel what I'm feeling in a space of love, to really open to that presence of compassion, that presence of love, that divine, to say, hold me in this right now. Hold me in this. And what I usually find in my anger is that there's some kind of hurt that's below it. The anger, we know this, some of us, the kind of basic psychology stuff is that anger a lot of the time is a defense against deeper hurt or grief or whatever. It's harder to feel the hurt. So the unconscious way is to extend it outwards. But usually when I take that moment and try to open in that compassion, there's just some hurt there. And how to hold myself in that hurt, apply that love right here. And then I can come back and I can be more open to whatever it is that's going on with the person that I'm mad at. And what I find is that I can really, this process of loving somebody else in the moment of whatever it is, I really have to apply, I have to first apply it to myself. I first have to hold myself in that before I can have the space to hold somebody else.
I agree, but what hits me is the aha moment. And the aha moment is usually if I'm hurting that much, the other person is hurting as well. And that's how the anger goes back and forth.
Beautiful. So you're saying that part of what also opens your heart, in addition to to feeling your own hurt, is just the awareness that
The recognition.
is recognition somebody else is hurting too. This is not, and isn't that what anger is? Very self-focused. It's very much, there's a certain kind of righteousness in anger about that's really focused on ways that my own boundaries are violated, or things that are happening about me. And you're already saying, hey, just expand a moment beyond the you to say somebody else is hurting here also. And immediately that begins to diffuse the beautiful.
Right.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that.
Rabbi Kavod.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is not about anger, but I was thinking how our discussion before you started your presentation just flowed right into it, because we were talking about, you've told us this before about other people being, participating that we don't see or know about. And I hadn't really dwelled on that. Then I realized today there was that same kind of feeling of people being out there who are a part of us and we don't know them, and we're debating whether or not to be vulnerable with them. And there's, I really felt actually a nice kind of connection, because they're all sort of, we're all in it together. They're all kind of a part of us. And it just flowed very nicely. Our debate, our quandary just fit right into what you talked to us about. And it was a very nice feeling, really.
I appreciate that, Maury. I'm also, it's bringing something else to me, which is pretty amazing, just for those who are maybe witnessing this, not on the Zoom call, but either on a recording or a Facebook or whatever. Yeah. What Maury is speaking about is, we had a kind of a discussion beforehand that this portion of our Tuesday morning session, kind of questions, answers, comments, are, what do we feel, do the people on this call feel comfortable enough being able to ask questions, share, whatever it is, knowing that there are people, right now that are watching this that are not on this particular Zoom session, and how does that affect our ability to ask or share? And Maury, when you're saying, there's something really amazing and comforting to say, like, there are people that I don't even know about right now and here that are present with us, that are sharing this space, and that's a deeper sense of connection. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm even thinking about just this Zoom call and this configuration with broadcasting out to YouTube and Facebook as a metaphor for what would it mean to say, to even think at any moment that there are other people around in the world or whatever that are, that we are connected to, that on some kind of level, let's just say even psychically or unconsciously or whatever, that what we're going through in a given moment is not just isolated to us, but somebody else may be going through that same thing at that moment, and kind of that awareness that we, that sometimes we feel very alone in our own experience of whatever is going on, that we're actually not alone, that we are connected to people that we know, to people that we don't know, and just, a lot of people are struggling with the same things, and celebrating similar joys and all of those. And how does that affect our day-to-day with having that knowledge and that awareness?
How could there be billions of people just like me?
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Oh, Dennis, you're muted.
Okay, that's better. I saw the passage in a really kind of a different way. I bring my own stuff to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's about free will and determinism. Big surprise, right? So the deterministic part of it is, I'll call it our higher power, God, provides the letters, which limits the ability to choose. But then with the letters, we get to assemble the letters in the way that we want, the way that our heart leads us to.
Beautiful.
So that was my thought on it.
Beautiful. And that thought right there, that you are speaking like a true Kabbalist, because the way that that Kabbalistic meditation looks at this is they call it Yehudim, or unifications, making unifications. And what it is it's that same, ability to be able to be present with the energies of the moment, with the letters. Like you said, they are given to us. They're Hashem's, building blocks of creation. But how we assemble them is up to us. And the very practice of Yehudim is, how do we assemble them in ways that are aware of the deepest unity, the deepest connection that's possible. It's almost as if, I think about it as a, well, this is such a mundane example. It's just what's coming to my mind. A Rubik's Cube. So you're given a Rubik's Cube and it's all kind of mixed up, and you can turn it in different ways to make all kinds of different patterns on it. Some of the things could be more chaotic, but some of them can be a little bit more ordered and even, beautiful in the way that the patterns are checkered. And maybe one could say that there's an ultimate way that you could do it, which is to have it be the way that every color is solid on one side, or we have the ability to see as deep of beauty in the world as we want to, as we give ourselves to, as we want to see, as we open ourselves to. And in some way, this process, how do you want to assemble the letters so that the most beautiful sentences can be, articulated? It's wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for a beautiful morning.
Thank you, Kavod. Thank you so much.
Hope everybody has a good rest of the week. And a couple of just things real quick is, besides, Shabbat services as usual, this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. is our information meeting for our spiritual pilgrimage to Israel trip. And we'll be going through the itinerary. There'll be questions, though, whatever it is. If, even if you haven't made any kind of decision of whether you can or can't come, come and check it out and just get to meet some of the folks that are our tour guide, Mayan, and learn about kind of some of the amazing stuff that we're doing. 10 a.m. The Zoom link is on the website under the Israel trip, and hope to see some of you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank
Bye.